Hello, welcome to New Europe Studios. I am Dan Alexe. With us today in the studio, Commissioner Štefan Füle, Commissioner for Enlargement. Welcome, Mr. Füle. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
You are a former Czech politician, and now we are nearing crucial elections, and also elections which will determine the fate of the future Commission and the structure of the future Commission. Are you preparing a comeback? Are you thinking of life after the Commission? Are you going back to national politics? What are your plans?
I am preparing for the time after this commission. I'm being told by many sort of undergoing the same experience that there is a life afterwards.
We're happy to hear that.
But nothing concrete. There are still 6 months to go, and the portfolio of High Representative and also my portfolio, if you look at the news, is going to make us busy until the very last moment.
Why do we need the two of them? They are overlapping from time to time. Why do we need a separate?
They do not overlap. They actually interact. And why we need two? Because they are using the different instrument. I represent sort of the community instrument, the policies as defined in the treaties, sort of being a responsibility of the European Commission. She is the one to coordinate the common foreign and security policy. Now, what has happened in the past that both of these persons in charge were actually pursuing the separate tracks. For the first time after the Lisbon, we are using the same set of instruments, and we are sort of moving in the same direction, interacting with each other and reinforcing each other. It's a huge change.
You are the first enlargement commissioner coming from an Eastern European country. So knowing the Russian mentality, speaking Russian, knowing Eastern Europe, was that an advantage in your case?
I think it is definitely an advantage if you're dealing both with the enlargement portfolio and also neighborhood portfolio. I think it is also an advantage to come from the country which has undergone this huge transformation process called enlargement, and it has to be underlined that enlargement is a transformation process first of all. To have that experience and to offer the solution to our partners, the potential members and candidate members based on the personal experience. In other words, it helps me to present not only what's on my mind, but also what's in my heart. And answering your question very shortly, yes, it helps.
It helps. Then how come we have a commissioner in charge of external affairs who doesn't speak any foreign language? You speak Russian, you speak other languages.
Who doesn't speak any foreign language?
Catherine Ashton.
Come on, I mean, I heard her speaking foreign languages. This is not about that. This is not about whether you know 2, 3, or 4. It's about your ability to lead the 28 member states in the area where we only now sort of forming what's uniting us, and where sort of doing it together reinforces our messages, and what we still like sort of to keep for our own national foreign policies.
So you need administrative qualities.
You need qualities of politicians, of a good manager, and excellent negotiators.
Let's get concrete. What are the next steps in Moldova and Georgia?
The next steps, to be very concrete, are actually the very important trips of both governments to Brussels. President Barroso and the college has invited the prime ministers and the respective members of the government for the important discussions, and we will start with Moldova on 15th of May, and then to have the Georgia on 21st of May. But this is only a small part in actually a very active political calendar. Then another extremely important issue and event is going to be, of course, signing the association agreement, including the deep and comprehensive.
Which will happen this spring until summer, sometime.
Which will not, the heads of states and the government has made it absolutely clear that they want us to create the conditions for those agreements to be signed before the end of June, and we will deliver on it. Right? And then the next stage is going to be to ensure the provisional applications, that those agreements do not have effect in 1 or 2 years when everything is ratified, but as soon as possible. I think we owe it to those partners, taking into account what's going on in that region.
In order to stop these two countries, Moldova and Georgia, falling into Russia's arms, like it happened with Belarus a long time ago, and Armenia recently, which joined the customs union with Russia.
Listen, I know that it's sort of from a certain angle, it's almost logical to say it like you just did. But you know, trust me, the Eastern Partnership has never been about sort of the zero-sum game. It was never been about Moscow and Brussels. It has been about empowering our partners to make their own sovereign decisions about their own orientation, about their future, and not imposing on them our ambitions, but helping them to deliver on their own ambitions. And if their ambition is to get closer to the European Union, in the case of some our Eastern partners, even eventually at certain time to become a member state, I would say that it's our, and not only a moral duty, to help them on that road.
How about Azerbaijan? We very rarely hear about Azerbaijan. You spoke harshly recently, criticizing the situation of human rights, for instance, but we don't hear such words from President Barroso or from other commissioners. By the way, Barroso and Oettinger go there next month, and the last time Barroso has been there was no word of criticism towards the situation of human rights. Why two different policies in the college?
And I'm going there in May together with my colleague Günther Oettinger, and I might accompany President Barroso. I talked to President of Azerbaijan 2 weeks ago. I talked to the Azeri minister 10 days ago. There are no two policies, okay, on Azerbaijan. And I agree with you that it's to the detriment of our partnership that we do not talk more about Azerbaijan. Huh? Objectively. Huh? The point here is that the Eastern Partnership is not a straight jacket which we have put together to suit only one or a small group of our Eastern partners. No, it's a framework, it's a set of policies based on a certain principles which offer to all our partners, Belarus on one side, Moldova, Georgia on the other side, but also Azerbaijan, to find its place in forging the relations with the European Union. Is Azerbaijan our strategic partner in energy? Yes, it is. Are we ready to extend that strategic touch or dimension of our relationship to other areas? Yes, we are, on the condition that one of those areas is also the areas of human rights and fundamental freedoms.
Then why isn't Armenia never criticized? After all, Armenia occupies part of Azerbaijan's territory, and now it joins the customs union with Russia. We only hear criticism about Azerbaijan and not about Armenia.
Yeah, because we are not criticizing the countries for the choice they're making. You cannot have me telling you that our task is sort of empowering the countries to make the sovereign choice, and then having me criticizing them for that sovereign choice. Okay. Now, what we are looking at how those countries are implementing on the commitments they have undertaken when we have jointly established the Eastern Partnership. Am I happy that I'm being called so many times to pay the attention to this or that breach of human rights in Azerbaijan? No, I'm not happy.
The Balkans. You have been very active in the Balkans, and we've seen Serbia is becoming a success story. They started negotiation with Kosovo. Then we have Montenegro. How did you manage to achieve such a result? Because it's been dragging for years.
Thank you very much for this question. Give me some more time. No, listen. The most challenging job I had the last 4.5 years was how to keep the enlargement alive at the time when the basic instinct of the whole European Union, the member states, was sort of to focus on the economy and finances and the crisis of Eurozone. Right? We have had a number of ways how to do it. We have chosen probably the most difficult one, to strengthen the credibility of the process. And the last 4.5 years, I think we have changed the enlargement from the ticking of boxes exercise to the political transformation project where the track record matters. And I'm very happy to see the first small results still during my term of duty.
Why not Albania? Why is it kept at arm's length all the time?
That's a good question. Because whatever you do, at the end of the day, it's always on the local politicians, on the politicians of that country, whether they will sort of use the chance and deliver on the expectations. And in Albania, unfortunately, in the past, I'm not talking about the recent parliamentary elections, those elections always happened not with one winners, but two winners. And it sort of took a lot of time for the two winners to actually, figure it out, who is then going to be in charge. I thought that they were always lacking the sense of joining the forces when it comes to the European agenda. But I hope very much that that much time we have lost in the past is over, and I see now Albania sort of getting closer and closer to the decision of the member states on granting the candidate status. Our recommendation would go in the positive directions, that it's about the time to do it. I hope very much that the member states will find a lot of arguments strong in our report
Will it happen
to make
this
that
year?
decision. It should happen this June during the European Council.
Oh, that's a mini scoop.
But again, it's up
Big
to
for them.
It's up to the member. It's up to the member states.
Then when will this enlargement stop? Where are the frontiers, the borders of Europe? How long can it continue?
It could continue.
Until where?
It could continue as long as there is going to be a point where Article 49 is being met with the consensus of the member states. Article 49 talks about the European country, which promotes the values and principles of the EU, is based on to become a member state, or possibility to become, but you need a consensus of all member states for that country to make it. So it's a combination of those two. So don't look for any geographical sort of identification of the external borders of the European Union or political one. Look for the combination of those two.
Are you still in favor of Turkey joining the EU?
I'm in favor of every European country knocking on our door, wanting to share our values and principles, and wanting to be a member of the club following the same rules, to have to be given a chance to be a part of that.
One final theme: how could Europe be so wrong in the case of Ukraine and Russia's intentions? I'm thinking of Vilnius, of the apparently surprising way in which the then president didn't want to sign, and then things went so fast that it seemed to have taken everybody by surprise.
I would not agree with what you formulated in your question. I don't think we were wrong on Ukraine. I told you already earlier that our Eastern Partnership is not sort of our ambitions being imposed on our partners. Our policy is to help our partners to deliver on their ambitions. And that's exactly the policy we were doing in Ukraine. And from the very beginning, we have been interacting and trying to interact with the Russians, that they understand that this is a win-win solution, and that this policy of ours, an association agreement, brings the advantage not only to our neighbors, but also neighbors of our neighbors. What we have done is that we have probably underestimated what President Putin was trying to tell us already years ago, when he was talking that actually the biggest catastrophe of 20th century was the dissolution of the Soviet Union on one side, and in 2008 in Bucharest, NATO-Russia Council Summit, when he said that Ukraine was artificial country. it's very sad but for me at the end of the term to see that our policy is being met with such a resistance with Russia, and that the time we could have used for a good discussions assuring our partner Russia, and it is strategic partner, that nothing in our policies goes against the Russian interest, which would also help us to better understand the Russian concerns, that it has not been used. And I'm very concerned to see this kind of policy of manageable chaos being introduced in Ukraine, because where are exactly the limits of the word manageable? To what extent you could manage that? And you know what? The Ukraine is important for both of us. It's important for Russia. It's important for us. I would hate to see anyone playing the game who is going to pay the bigger price for Ukraine, Moscow or Brussels. We are not in this kind of game.
So we basically misunderstood Putin's personality. Is there anything we can learn from this?
I think we have to learn from it. One of the things we need to learn is that the values and principles is not an empty concept, that it matters, and particularly at the time of the crisis and instability, it matters even more. The second thing we have to learn even more is that the unity behind those principles, on the basis of those principles, is another important feature. And there is a third thing we need to learn, that to be principled, it's fine. To be united, it's fine. But if you don't lead.
Thank you, Commissioner Füle.
We
had with us today Enlargement Commissioner Štefan Füle. I am Dan Alexe. We are in the New Europe studios. Goodbye.
It's been a pleasure.